present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Holtz. The governor signed off on an $87 billion budget this week, written by Republicans and including more than $2 billion in income tax cuts. Schools will get less than a tenth of what Evers originally asked for in increased funding, resulting in Evers redirecting another $100 million from federal funds into school coffers. Now, I'm joined today by Kim Kaukl with the Wisconsin Rural Schools Alliance to break down how schools and students will fare financially going into this new school year. Kim, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Naomi, and thanks for having me.
All right, let's start simple. What does this budget mean for smaller schools, for rural schools?
I think what the governor added is going to be very helpful to a lot of our districts, because we know the budget as it was when it went to his desk, was really short on a lot of spendable money. Beyond that original $128 million, the rest of the money that was put in to meet the maintenance of effort to get the federal funding was pretty much towards property tax relief. And so, the extra $100 million that the governor added into the budget for schools and education, I think is going to be very helpful. Will help backfill some of the short areas that were missed in the original budget. I think our biggest concern is, it's great to get that additional money, but we also have to remember it's one-time money, and when it's spent, it's gone. It's not like it was part of the budget. So, that's always concerning. And as we kind of said in our original press release, we're concerned, with the use of this one-time money hitting that fiscal cliff somewhere along the line here in the next couple of years.
So let's talk about that one-time money a little bit more. So obviously that was one of the biggest reasons that Republicans said they weren't writing more money from the state into the state budget because of that more than $2 billion coming in from federal COVID aid to schools. Now, break down for me how that's shaking out. Are there schools that will be getting the short end of the stick, so to speak, from all that federal money?
Yeah, we've got some districts, especially, with that, the way they did the additional education funding that's geared towards property tax relief. We've got a number of our districts that are considered property rich. And under the formula, the way it's written, a lot of those districts won't even see the property tax relief. So, they're going to get kind of shortchanged on, spendable money, and they're not really going to see the property tax relief because they're considered a high value district because of the land values there. So that's going to really impact a lot of our rural districts that are in tourist areas, especially up north, with a lot of lake property and things like that. And that's a big concern of ours. And we've shared that in the past also. We're going to really be watching that closely.
Describe for me, why is school funding such a big issue? Why are we so concerned about it? What's kind of the state of it right now in Wisconsin?
Well, I think, we've dealt with a lot of cuts over a number of years. And then, the last couple of budgets, we've increased again. But unfortunately, those prior cuts, we have not caught up to CPI. So a lot of our districts end up, short every year because we're not at that CPI that we need to be, from those last years of low budgets. And, so it has really made it difficult. And as you know, a lot of our districts have had to go to operational referendums. And I think the way this budget is laid out right now, it's going to continue that trend of a lot of our rural districts having to go to operational referendums, to keep their doors open. And in essence, any tax relief they're getting through this budget, if they want to, continue to keep their schools open and pass the referendums, they're basically taxing themselves. And then when you kind of look at the bigger picture, what each family is going to get back in the property tax and the tax relief that they're getting, probably if that money would have been better spent to put it in and fully fund education, would have been a better way to go. I know it's not an easy way to explain it, but it is a rather complicated formula, how that works. So,
painting in broad strokes, you represent an organization with a lot of rural schools. So what is the story for them, broadly speaking, as we head into a post-pandemic school year?
I think first of all, I want to applaud a lot of our rural districts because they did stay open through the pandemic, and they worked very hard to put plans in place to make sure everybody was safe. And I think secondly, our rural districts are very creative. They continue to work hard. They continue to provide a great education for our students. And they'll take the money that they have and they'll do the best that they can with it. And, it's going to probably mean some adjustments. I think our biggest concern is with the teacher shortage and, the lack of funding to continue to pay teachers a decent salary could exacerbate that shortage even more. So I think those are things that really concern us, especially in our rural districts where we have a hard time filling many of our positions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Kim, any final thoughts?
No, like I said, I'm glad that the governor put in that additional money. I think it's going to be helpful. But, we also have to be cognizant it is one-time money, and, we're going to have to see how things shake out down the road. But at least, it was a step in a positive direction for a lot of our schools. So greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Kim, thanks so much for joining us today. When we come back from break, hear from the governor and a Republican budget leader as they close out this months-long process.